Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel The Teacher, and in this tutorial we will talk about the cost centers and cost categories in TallyPrime. So many of you might want to track the income and expenses but without flooding your already created ledger accounts. I mean, you don't want to create many more new ledger accounts but still want to track each of the expenses or incomes in much depth. So if you go to the display more reports, I have already created a few cost centers and categories for an example, and I wanted to show you that first, and later we will see that how you can start from the beginning and create your own cost centers and cost categories. So here if I go to the statement of accounts, then here you can find cost centers, and then it will ask you that how you would like to see the cost center details, either category wise, cost center breakup, ledger wise or group wise. So let's say I first open category summary. Then here you can see that we have two categories for cost, tracking the cost, and that is in department and the location. And under the department we have HR, IT and marketing, and under the location we have Delhi and Mumbai. So if I press Ctrl Enter on the department, then it will go to the alteration of cost category directly, and here you can see that I have created this department cost category and also enable allocate revenue items for this particular cost category. And same way, if I press Ctrl Enter on the location, then you can see that we are also allocating revenue items for this cost category. If I move back and go to the alteration option on gateway of Tally, and here I go to cost centers, then you can see that I have created a few cost centers like Delhi, HR, IT, marketing and Mumbai. Delhi and Mumbai are inside the location cost category. If I press enter, you can see that the category for this Mumbai cost center is under the location, and if I go to Delhi, then you can also see that the category is location for this cost center Delhi. And same way for HR and IT and marketing departments, I have placed them inside the department cost category. So now how it can help you: first of all, if I open display more reports and go to trial balance, and here if I press Alt F1 for detailed view, then you can see all the groups and subgroups, and here I can press the F12 key to see further detail by expanding all levels in detail format, so I can see all the ledgers within the subgroups as well. So here you can see that we only are seeing the groups, subgroups and the ledgers, and the cost categories and cost centers are not visible here. But if I want to see the details of them, then I can move here in the statement of counts under display more reports, and here if I go to cost centers, and here if I press on cost center breakup, then it will ask me that for which cost center I want to see the details. So let's say I press enter on the marketing cost center, and here you can see that we have further details about the indirect expenses around 42,000, and if I press enter again to see further detail, then we have advertisement expenses, bonus and traveling expenses. So that way if I open the voucher, then you can see that the voucher only contains the two ledger accounts, cash and traveling expenses, but I have added the details of these traveling expenses inside the department cost category and for marketing department. And same way, that marketing department concerned with the location Mumbai, so I also added it here. Now if we move back and let's say we see the daily cost category, then it is spending around 50,000 on expenses and having an indirect income of rupees 1 lakh. And if I press Alt F1 here, then I can see further detail here. So service income is a cost center and it is not visible inside your other books. Like if I open trial balance or balance sheet, then you can see that it is not visible here, but still we have the in-depth information about all our expenses and incomes. So let me show you that how you can create new cost categories and cost centers in TallyPrime. And for that, after creating your new company, or if you are already working inside a company, then and you wanted to add cost centers and cost categories to track expenses or income revenue, then here on the gateway of Tally you can press F11 key and make sure show more feature and show all feature is yes, and here you can find enable cost centers, which is already enabled for this company. And if you are using an older version of TallyPrime, then you will also see another function here that if you want to enable cost categories as well. However, in TallyPrime new version, like this is 6.3 release, here the cost categories are already enabled. And after enabling the cost centers and cost category, if you move to the masters create, then here you can find cost category and cost center. And if anyway you don't see the cost category here, then make sure to press enter on show more to see all the features which has been enabled. So here you can create the cost category and then you can create cost center which will fall under those particular cost categories. So let's say for example the drawing account, the capital account want to track all the withdrawals of the drawings that he is using for his personal expenses, but he also wanted to track all his personal expenses, that where he is spending all that money, like on rent, utility bills, personal expenses or home expenses. So what we are going to do, we will first create a few cost categories and then we will enter a few more vouchers to see that how we can track the cost categories and cost centers. So first of all, I will create two cost categories. One will be family member and I want to allocate revenue items for this cost category, and another will be expenses type. Now I will create a few cost centers within these categories. So here it has already selected the location category, which I don't want. I want to change the category. So here I will press the backspace key and I will choose family member. So here in the family member I will create 4 cost centers like self, spouse, children and parents. These are just for an example, so you may better understand the feature of cost category and cost centers. Now for the another category, expenses type, we will create like grocery, rent, utility bills, and one more education and medical. So it's time to add a few voucher entries to track the cost categories or cost centers. So here I will add F5 for payment vouchers and will type bank account, and then I will create a new account, drawing account, under capital account. Cost centers are applicable here for this ledger account. So here if I press the space key, then you can see that it is only showing the primary cost category even when I have enabled the cost center feature for this drawing account. But this drawing account is inside the capital account, which is not a revenue account, revenue group I mean. So even after enabling cost center on this ledger account, I am still unable to see the cost centers that I have created for this particular ledger account. That is because those are not the revenue items, and if I go to the alteration of gateway of Tally, and go to cost category, and here if I choose family member, you can see that these two options, allocate revenue items and allocate non-revenue items. So I have to enable allocate non-revenue items so that we can also use this cost category for the non-revenue items, which is our capital account. Or if I don't want to do this, then I have to create a household expenses ledger under indirect expenses. Let me show you both the examples. Let me enable this for expenses type and family members, and I will also create a new ledger account, let's say household expenses under expenses indirect. So cost centers are applicable for this ledger account, yes. And control A, you can press control A to save the changes directly by instead of pressing enter key several times. So let's say we add a new voucher, and that way bank account, household expenses, and let's say 5,000. And now if I press the space key to see the cost categories, then I can see all the cost categories. And let's say I choose family member, and here I can choose self 5,000. But that way you have to create another household expenses ledger, which you might not want to create a further new ledger to track the drawing account. So we have already enabled allocating for non-revenue items. Now let's say I again enter the bank account, and here I choose drawing account instead of the household expenses, and here I add the amount 5,000. And if I now press the space key, then I can see both of these cost categories allocate for non-revenue items as well. So here I choose family member and or expenses type, let's say, and I choose grocery. So now I will add a few more vouchers for an example, so you can see that how we can easily track all the details with the cost center and cost categories. So the next voucher will be again for bank account and drawing account, and this time the amount will be 12,000, and we are spending this amount under the family member spouse. And you can also here explain that where the spouse is spending the money. So she is spending the money on expenses type, and that is the rent. So that way you can track more than one category in a single voucher. Like we are tracking that spouse is spending the money 12,000 on rent. So I will add a few more vouchers like bank, again drawing account, and this time the amount is 2,000, and the family member is children, and children for expenses type is education. Let's add one or two more vouchers, bank account, drawing account, and this time the amount is 1200, and family member is self, and the expenses type is utility bills. So now let's see the books, display more reports, statement of account, cost centers. So let's see the category summary first. So here you can see that for the expenses type we have 20,200 total spent, and on education we have spent 2,000, on grocery we have 5,000, on rent 12,000, and on utility bills 1,200. And which of the member is spending the money? That is children 2,000, self 1,200, and spouse 12,000. And that way we can also see the particular cost center if we want to. Let's say we want to see that parents cost center, let's say we want to see the self, then here we have the capital account 1,200, drawing account, and we can open the voucher as well to see the further details. And you can also see the detail group wise, like I want to see the expenses report And here we have the HR, IT and marketing department spending a total amount of rupees 1,08,000, and location wise we have 1,10,000, which I added earlier before creating these new cost center and cost categories. And if I say capital count, then you can see that we have the non-revenue items tracking as well: education, grocery, rent and utility bills. So I hope you will like this tutorial. Let me know by liking, sharing and commenting on this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye and take care.